Heidi ho, one and all. Welcome to the final TTR UK session of the week. And what a boring shit week it's been. For me, anyway. Actually, had a nice trade. And we'll probably go through that a little bit later again because I haven't got anything terribly exciting to report, I've got to say. One thing I guess I should point out before we go too much further is that
Oh, we've lost you, mate. Right, hold on, guys. I'm going to have to let Jeff know that we've lost him. Setting something up here.
I think I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Yep.
Oh, my God.
Started already, huh?
Google Chrome. It must be. You know, every time I go to the browser, it just cuts me up for some weird reason.
Kicks you out.
Sometimes I can come back, sometimes I can't.
Oh, no.
As I was saying, the Aussie copped another, well, not so much a belting this morning, just bad news again. Yes, they created more jobs, but, you know, to me, the highlight number is not the jobs created, but the unemployment rate. That's what the RBA will be looking at. And not only that, the previous figure was adjusted from 5.0 up to 5.1. So it copped a double whammy and it's gone up again to 5.2%. The RBA won't be happy. Well, when I say won't be happy with that, it gives them more ammunition to cut rates, I would have thought, when they meet on the first Tuesday of June, which is, what, a couple of weeks away. So, yeah, pressure mounting on the RBA to cut rates, one would have thought, as a result of that. And, of course, pressure mounting on the Aussie dollar. Not that it needed any, because it's really having a bad time. I would expect that just will continue to fall now. It's really tough to be seeing a rally in that outside of perhaps something miraculous turning around in the trade squabbles, as Donald now calls it. So speaking of Donald, he upset me again last night. He's a prick. He just tweets at the wrong time. I was enjoying my little Aussie Kiwi trade, and then the market just went kind of weird. And I just looked. I said, "There's no news, no scheduled news at this time. What's going on?" I should have known, of course. Donald's out of bed, and he's tweeting. One of those tweets wasn't so crash hot, I don't believe. And I think, again, against China, which of course flows through the Aussie, and the trade I was in was Aussie Kiwi long. And, you know, for the first time this week, I thought confident that it could actually happen. And along comes Donald, and away we go again. So I closed that trade at break even. And a fortunate thing, really, because it fell away thereafter, and that would have been a loser had I stayed in. But thanks, Donald, you dickhead. He's a he's a real disruptor. There's no two ways about that. Not only that, and I'll show you this trade in a minute, the euro dollar trade that I'm still in. He forced the trigger on that with those tweets, and I wasn't ready to be taken in. But there you go. It happens. That really was the major news of the day. And upcoming, we have only the Bank of Canada's Governor Polos having a little chat. I know what he's talking about, but he's got a little bit of resurrecting to do as well. Press conference about the financial system review in Ottawa. Okay. Don't know if that relates to the CAD or otherwise, I suppose, because it's about a financial system. Might have something to do with it, but if it's confined to Ottawa, then probably not. But it is flagged because the Reserve Bank governors, when they speak, can say anything and be questioned about anything, and therefore can let something go. Their monetary policy might be headed in this direction or that. You never know. 4:15 p.m. London time. That'll be snoozy buys for me anyway, so it won't be concerning me unless I'm in the market at that time. What else have we got happening? Philly Fed and building permits out of the States. The rest is pretty much non-eventish. Looking at the potential disparities here, that appears to be the biggest one. And natural gas storage, I don't would be too concerned about that. So I think a pretty clear day in terms of news events, mates. Let's take a look and see what the market's been doing in the past 12 hours or so. And not a whole lot, according to this. She's pretty much single digits, apart from maybe a little bit of strength. Oh dear, there we go again. Am I still? Can you hear me, Ash?
Yeah, still there, mate.
Okay. Well, I might just close this now, get rid of it, so that I don't crash out again. So there's not a lot happening in the market. Maybe the pound's off a bit. That's probably something I can deduce from those numbers. Aussie's off a bit, as you would expect. A bit of strength in the Swissy maybe, and the yen, but not a whole lot. It's not a big deal. So the market's pretty much doing not a whole lot today thus far, but overall, I think it's kind of going in the one direction. It's either up. It's either up if you're trading against, pardon me, the pound and the dollar, or it's probably down if you're trading against the yen, the Swissy. So, mates, only trade I'm in at the moment. As I said, Don will trigger this one. I didn't want him to. I was trading it's a very, very, I won't say high risk, but it's not a great example of how I like to trade this particular scenario.
I haven't got your chart.
You haven't. That's probably because we crashed, or I crashed. So let me fix that, or at least attempt to. I'm doing a lot of pressing of buttons here, and nothing is happening.
You still on there, mate? Okay. I seem to have. Are you on there right now? Are you?
I'm back, mate. Now
you're back. Okay, so I've got two different options for you at the minute. That's okay.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh dear. Not sure what to do about it. Let me see if I can actually take the screen. It didn't work last time, and it may have worked that time.
That's worked. Yeah, perfect. It may have crashed. Oh, one of them's gone, which is a good thing. So now we've only got one of you. But that one of you is stationary. So we may have lost Jeff momentarily. So, he's back in again. You back in there, mate?
I am, but I'm too scared to press a button.
Yeah, this is tricky, isn't it? I mean, yeah, just apologies to everybody in the room. The problem we've got is that I'm in Singapore on a laptop. So what will normally happen in this sticky environment is that I would be able to start the show, but I don't have the ability to do that. So poor Jeff has got to initiate the show, and it means that when technical difficulties happen, then we all are going to be drawn into it. So we'll just have to get as far as we can, mate. We'll just get as far as we can.
So it looks like I'm in the room twice.
Yeah, now you're in the room once again. That's fine.
Okay.
But this time we haven't got a chart.
I'll try one more time to take the chart. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to have to talk over your charts, I think.
Okay.
So here we go. Ready. Get set. It's not going to work.
Not going to work. Okay. All right. Well, no big deal, mate. Let's have a quick look at some bits and pieces. If we can, there's not really much that I'll be doing today anyway. There is a little scalp on the FTSE. Let's just quickly talk about this while we see if there's anything we can do. But there is a little scalp on the FTSE that is kind of going on right now. It's for the upside, for a little bit of upside. Kind of a sloppy area here, but you know, we know that my trade was taken off. My initial trade that went long was taken off just a little bit lower down here at this gap, and it has had another push to the upside. Now we were discussing this yesterday. I think it was Ben that was saying that you know, the daily chart having this engulfing bar did suggest further upside, and he was absolutely right. It was just it's always a little bit concerning, or it's still currently concerning what's going on with the Donald Trump saga. And today he's come out and yes, said that there is some issue with Huawei now, but by the same token, he's giving 6 months of negotiation to the EU and to Japan on auto sales. So that's going to help those two guys out. The market at this stage appears to have calmed down a little bit. So there are two possibilities. One is to continue along with the FTSE, which I'm not keen to do for very long. But as I say, there is a little scalp here to the upside, and that scalp is probably from this point up to this point, with stops maybe somewhere down here. So we might have a 15 pip stop. Let's see if I can get my chart up. There we go. Might have a 15 pip stop down here, and a way to get 20 pips to the upside. Could be a little bit dangerous, but we would be staying with the weekly charts. The weekly trend is still moving up, and the daily trend looks like it's about to move up as well. Impossible to get this bounce down here in accordance to which I was actually up at this time because I'm in Singapore time, but it's pretty difficult to get that one because the spreads were so wide. So this is really the first opportunity to try and hop in for a little bit more of a push to the upside. Could be a target to the highs, maybe this level here. But then we've got to consider that this left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder is probably the pattern that I'm looking to develop. And if I put a quick box around the left shoulder, which is somewhere around here, I'm just going to change the color of this box because I don't particularly like it in green. I always like a nice yellow box, like the junction. Might even go for gold. So this gold box here would suggest to me that we probably have a gold box somewhere over here, giving us sometime on the first week of June, before the right shoulder is completed. It may be slightly before because maybe this box isn't quite as wide. Maybe it's even wider. Who knows? But let's go with it being a little bit wider actually. Might be that. Might be like that instead, which gives us sometime around about the second week, actually in June, before this starts to move down. Now, statistically, the FTSE does tend to have a pretty weak month in June. So we are looking for downside. It's really going to be a matter of timing. And, you know, one thing about the markets is that it won't go down just because we want it to go down or that it's at a level. You know, it's going to hang on as long as it possibly can. And if there's nothing hugely fundamental that has changed over the course of the last 24 hours, when this trend was created, when the breakout was created, I would still assume that we're probably going higher. I don't think that Huawei situation is going to drive the market. I think more likely that the EU and Japanese negotiation time period of 6 months is probably a more likely driver today, which is still fairly positive. So we might still see that positivity just coming through. But by the same token, we're not far away from this level. Maybe it even pushes up into this level. Who knows? Which is going to be potentially another 80 or so pips, possibly. But I'm still looking for the short. So it's going to be time frame dependent. It's going to be price dependent. this is the first price to consider. I'm a little bit concerned that we'd be getting there, getting to that point earlier than I'd want, and I'd probably anticipate some scrappy price action, maybe even pulling back to the lows and then back up again. I'm not sure, but I'm going to consider that area for a short, and I'll consider this upper line for a short. I prefer that if we're that early in the construction of this left shoulder head of the right shoulder. So if the right shoulder is to be created, then I would probably want to see this area if it gets if prices continue to move up, because as I say, I think it'd be early to reach this point. I prefer to see this tested really in a couple of weeks, so even a dip down and then up and then down and then up and then down, then up to that point. That would initiate a trade for me to start moving down. So scalps are to the upside. The longer term timeframes currently are still really to the upside. Now we've got this breakout bar on the daily. News is a little bit confused. I don't think there's anything really solid to hold on to. So I'm not going to read too much into the fundamental data. So I don't know. I think a weak suggestion that we probably just continue to bubble around, and that's not an environment I want to be a part of anyway. So except for the scalp, which is going to be about 20 pips, I don't see too much out there that I'd really like to trade. I'm just going to bring you gold, because gold has been a hedging prospect for the movements that we've seen in the market. And what interests me with gold is a break of the falling wedge here. So we've got a falling wedge here on gold. Now that break to the upside would suggest that anywhere between 86 and 90, let's say, would be a really good place to go long. It may not come back there, and that's what we're really battling with right now. We can see that there was a low created here. I'm going to just draw this line here as well. Yeah, I'd still want to see it down to something. This down sloping trend line probably isn't quite as attractive, but this upper sloping line would look pretty good if it comes down and either prices in conjunction with this or this when it comes down and reaches that trend line. That means this is today. If it comes down here today, I think the long is on. If it doesn't, then that would suggest that we bubble along, in sideways price action until eventually we touch it, and then we start to see a throw to the upside. So gold is suggesting at this stage that the market is a little bit potentially weak, but as I say, it's only at this particular stage. But we are not too far away from the open now. We're about 8 minutes or so. So yeah, 7 minutes 30 seconds away from the open. So I am looking at gold, but as I say, I think gold's going to be a bit rangy. I think that the market FTSE 100 is likely to be a little bit rangy with a slight upside bias. I'd have. Aside from that, we probably should look at dollar yen, and you were just saying the Swissy as well is starting to gain some traction, right?
Oh, I was only going on what the market was showing me on Forex Factory. I don't trade the Swissy in any way, shape, or form, so I'll just passing comment.
Okay.
I see oil's at a resistance level, a little bit of a reversal bar there on a 4-hour chart, only very small, but there's now a series of 3 of them. That's kind of weird.
On the 4-hour.
Yeah. A little bit of a hint of untested daily pivot. I wouldn't be jumping in, but yeah, it's at a resistance level. I'll put it that way.
Let me just find that. There we go. Untested. Yeah. That would suggest that one. And what about? We were looking at the pound briefly, weren't we? Where's the pound? Here's the pound.
Yeah, now, I kind of fancy a pullback to the daily pivot and a short, I think.
Well, that's concerning, isn't it, with a pound?
Yeah, it doesn't look healthy. Big break of the trend line there. When was it? Yes, the day before yesterday. No, yesterday. That kind of gives it up, I think.
That's very concerning.
No retest.
Yeah, that's very concerning.
Yeah, it was the day before yesterday where it broke that trend line. Not looking flash.
I
But,
mean,
you know, that said, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's a bit of a doji in there. 2, 4, 6, 7 days in a row. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are pretty heavy falls as well. So
yeah,
you've got to be thinking a little bit of consolidation or retracement, I suppose.
You seen this horizontal level I've drawn here?
Actually, can't see your chart.
Okay.
Hang on 2 secs, and I'll try to. I'm too scared to press any buttons.
Yeah, understandable. Let me tell you what it is. 1.27978.
That's your support level, is it?
Yeah.
1.27.
So it may not have too far to run.
Yeah, I can see that level. Yep.
So yeah, it might not have too far to run, but again, you know, we were looking at the pound yesterday to try and form some sort of bottom, but it's struggling because it just doesn't have a reason.
Yeah, that's making it extremely tough for me to trade.
Yeah,
we're not in a range. We're not retracing. If that's the case, it's just impossible for me to trade, and I might as well just go and play golf or something. Wish I could. My back's crooked, so I can't. Maybe I can go to the pub.
You could go to the pub, or you could go and get a PlayStation and play golf on that.
Oh my God, no. I gave that away many moons ago. That's just a complete waste of time.
You should have a PlayStation.
What were they called? A Sega thing.
Sega, yeah, Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
Well, in my days as a video shop proprietor, we used to hire those out. So I used to have to quality control them, you see.
So you were going to talk to me about retail.
Yeah. That requires a few beers, though.
Oh, okay.
Can't do that here. That might put somebody off.
Okay, all right. No discussions on retail.
Have a look at Aussie Kiwi H1.
Oh yeah, that was one of our present charts, wasn't it? Yeah, let's see, Aussie Kiwi. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, it was on. I can't remember. It was on the 30-minute or the hourly that I traded, but it was one of the two. And we had a break above the daily pivot yesterday. I don't know if you can see that on your chart.
Yeah.
And a double cross of the daily pivot, basically.
Yeah.
That kind of coincided with a break of a resistance trade line on the 30-minute chart, which comes from the high on the 15th, which is yesterday, of course.
Yep.
So yesterday's high down through the next lower high on the same day.
Yeah.
And then down through the double cross. So that means an entry for me.
Yeah.
And traded that. And that's when Donald took to the tweets. And the market was just jumping up and down in the one spot. Hadn't hit TP1, so I said, I'm out of here. This could go anywhere. And did. So break-even trade. So Donald stuffed that one up completely for me. And I don't think there's now a chance to get back into that because just more bad Aussie news. That said, there is another trade line. Man. That comes from, let me see, comes from not the high, but the second highest high on the 13th.
Second highest high on the 13th.
Which is bang on the daily pivot on the 13th.
Yeah.
And that goes through the exact high I just mentioned, which was yesterday's high.
Yeah.
And goes on through to today's high currently.
Yeah. Can you see my chart? Does it look like this?
No, it's actually at the top of today's high. That's the last test, the top of today's high.
Okay.
Yep.
Grand.
Okay, so what I there see is a classic slingshot setup. What I don't see is anything that suggests to me that the Aussie can rally at all against anything. That's my issue. Yeah, we're still at a support level. We're trying to come through it. I'm not going to place that trade. No. But I can see it there. You know, it's sitting there for all to see. But I'm not going to take it. I just can't bring myself now to trade the Aussie long after more bad news. As a Kiwi, is there any bad news for the Kiwi? That'd be handy. But I don't think, apart from the interest rate cut last week, I don't think there's been anything since.
It's odd, isn't it? That one data point hasn't. It just hasn't. It just hasn't. Benefited anything yet, has it?
No, look, it's continued to trickle down from against the greenback, but it's just trickling down and doing nothing more really.
Yeah.
But I must confess, had I seen that candle, the first 4-hour candle of the day today on Kiwi dollar, wow, that would have been something to resist. Actually, that's kind of a trade right there.
Yeah. What do you? I don't know if you can. Can you still see my chart here? This
Yep.
This price is really interesting. That you know where we currently sit, and I don't know if you've got the same pivot as I've got, but I've got a weekly pivot down here, and I've also got the low end of this,
Kiwi.
yeah, on Aussie Kiwi. I've got a low end of a bar.
Wow. What chart are you on?
On the daily.
Okay, I'll show you where. Well, I won't show you. I'll tell you where my weekly pivot is. So your weekly pivot is what, around about 105.40 or something.
Yes, exactly there.
Okay, mine is at 106.19.
Yours is at 106.90. Yeah, and because we discussed this, it's because of this
that
bar.
weed candle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a weekly pivot there, but what I also do have is some confirmed a confirmed horizontal line going right back to the 10th of December, 17th of December. It was a area of resistance. It became an area of support on the 15th of January. It became an area of resistance on the 13th of February. And now we're through. I'm kind of looking for it to become an area of support again.
Yeah, look, technically I can see it, but you know, when I think about it, how can the Aussie rally? But if it's going to rally against anything, it nearly has to be the Kiwi.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be really pissed if this goes 100 or 200 pips and I'm not on board. That's for sure, because I've been calling it for a week now. It's too long, you know, to give it up, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'll continue to look at it, and I guess the 4-hour chart, which is very, very similar to the scenario that I've got on the 30-minute chart, maybe the longer the stronger. Maybe I go there, or maybe I just rethink this one.
I mean, we are, you know, looking at that 4-hour chart. We do. This is an area of consolidation. It's pausing here, isn't it? So there's obviously some some liquidity at this particular area.
Yeah, look, when you take a look at that chart, and probably if I have a look at it on the daily tomorrow, if we're still in this vicinity, it's going to look like a clean out.
Yeah.
Because that bar, that 4-hour bar, has taken out just about every stop that would exist, I would imagine, if you're in a long position. So yeah, it could be liquidity grab, mate. Could be.
Yeah. And I don't know where your monthly is, but my monthly sits at 105.72 or 105.
Yeah, not far away. I'm about 105.67.
Which would suggest, you know, that there's probably some buy stops, you know, above that particular level.
Yeah, as well. That's true. Yeah.
You know, if price does manage to get up and start to get to go, then it's going to break a trend line as well. Well, that's the thing. So I think that's the buying opportunity. So if the Aussie has got anything you know, in his locker, then I would suspect it's probably through that particular area. And it might be that maybe if we're going to trust this, then we need to see genuinely this become a base out rather than trying to trade it from this particular point. If we actually saw something, you know, start to look like a trend, you know, actually closing above.
Yeah, break retest.
Break above and then break in right the way back again, then there could well be a trade. But I agree with you. It's very it's a little bit confounding how it's not really kind of doing anything because of what happened with the Kiwi. I mean, that's, you know, you don't get bigger news than an interest rate cut, and it has to stay on the watch list for that. So for that very reason, but the Aussie is just not helping it. You know, the news and data could have done with being fairly positive on the Aussie, because, you know, at least then we would have had something to trade for, you know, a reason to trade this in the direction of some upside.
Yeah, but it's been all shite, and you know, I continue to put it out of my mind, but the potential reason that the Aussie can't rally, apart from all the bad news, I mean, can't rally against the Kiwi, is that Labor is tipped to win the election, which is now 2 days away.
Yes.
And if that's the case, you know, that's not going to be good for the currency either.
Yeah, do you know what? I think you've just hit the nail on the head. That is why we are seeing certainly a kind of lack of conviction. You know, we're sort of like we're going left to right really, and in a pretty tight range. So that is already kind of answered why the Aussie is not able to move out of here. And I'd be surprised. We've got a strong level of support. We're unlikely to break under that particular level. And at this stage, the data points aren't good enough to break to the upside. But the real key is going to be those elections. And I suspect, you know, what if the market perceives that to be a negative, then I suspect we could actually start to move to the downside with the Aussie.
Look, if Labor win the election, there'll be a gap down on Aussie dollar to about 66. I reckon.
Yeah,
I reckon 300 pip fall if Labor wins
but
the election.
it's just not tradable, is it?
I can't see a way. I mean, there is a way, but it's high risk, you know.
Yeah.
There's always a way, but where are you going to put your stops? Especially in this market, you know, it's been falling since mid-April. The nearest logical place to put your stops is around about the 72 mark, you know, and that's like 300 pips away in the other side.
Yeah, and do you know what I see on this one is a potential price turn at 0.6876 ish.
So another 50.
Yeah, I kind of see a broadening pattern potentially going on.
Mm-hmm.
It may be there, it may be there, but that means that there's a little trend line down here, down sloping, that may well catch the price here and push it back into positive territory.
Going to take a big shove, I reckon, if Labor wins, mate.
Yeah, and do you think that would be enough to get it closed under here? Because then you've got some open water, surely, right down to the low end of this hammer.
Well, buy-in of itself, I would say no. But if you consider what we've just had in the last week in terms of data and news, then combined with that, then absolutely yes. And in particular, today's number, which, you know, has got to have the RBA going, okay, we don't really need too much more.
Yeah.
unless, of course, the election drives it down for them, and then they may be a little bit hesitant on an exchange rate basis. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Going around at the moment, and I think that's really is why Aussie Kiwi is holding its ground and not going anywhere. But that said, at the moment, Kiwi yen's holding its own as well. Okay, we've had a fall, but it's not going too deep right now. It's poised to, I'd have to say.
You seen this FTSE?
Whoa.
Yeah. Push to the highs, right the way back down again. I really do think this could be a tricky day today. Of course, I want to go short. I kind of can't wait to get on top of the short, but that was a possibility, and I probably I would have been okay to trade that, but I think this first bar is telling us. I mean, it's becoming more and more evident that this price is an area that is got a higher probability of being rejected. So coming back up there again, it would be an okay entry, but I wonder whether we're just going to get another pause. Then we could be testing this area, a few times into next week.
Your guess is better than mine, mate, on that one.
Let's have a look at the price points here, straight up, straight down. So it was shoved down fairly hard, really, from that upper line. Tempting to take a trade. As I say, it's always a bit difficult for me when I'm in a different country, because my schedule is a bit different than it normally is, and obviously my visual aids aren't there either.
Yep.
Without having to trade off the laptop. But that would have been the scalp, The scalp was down, as I said, just before, as we were starting the show. The scalp was there to the high, which with a 15 pip stop. By now, you should be out. If you've got any question of how you should have traded that scalp, hopefully it was clear. I'm pretty sure I was fairly clear that there was a 15 pip stop with a 20 pip gain, and that 20 pip gain should have been made now. So you shouldn't still be in this trade. If you traded the scalp. Now, I'm not saying you get out because this is going to crash the downside, but if you did trade it with the scalp as a technique, then you should really have closed out. If you want to re-enter, then you get a better price now anyway. But I wouldn't be too keen. It looks a little bit vicious, and this is a piercing pattern, and we're seeing rejection up here. So lots to suggest to me that that this market would be more likely to resist this area a few times. So it's a bit of a wait and see. I'm in the same zone as you, mate. I'm probably not going to trade. It's not going to be something I can give the headspace to. And as we were talking before, when it comes down to it, this is the life of a pro trader, isn't it? And again, as we were saying before, we've turned on our charts, even knowing that we probably wouldn't be looking at trading today. We've turned on our charts because we've got a commitment. But
Yeah.
but actually, if we're going to really behave like pro traders, then we probably are going to be switching down our laptops fairly soon. I'm just going to see if I can get into the.
Yeah, I've got 2 more shows to do, so I'll unfortunately I'm on board for a fair while yet. But I'm going to look Aussie Kiwi. Give me the shit. It really is. I'm going to hang around for Aussie Kiwi because I just don't want to miss it.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is
you wait all week. In fact, it's more than a week now.
But the problem with today is that we've got unemployment rate from Australia pretty awful, and we've got this election. So I don't think it just doesn't seem very wise, does it? I mean, Monday,
No.
yes, I get it for Monday, but today just looks too dangerous.
Aussie Kiwi is the only thing I'd consider trading. I wouldn't consider trading Aussie dollar or Aussie anything else.
Yeah,
but because of the interest rate cut, it's still the one I want to trade against.
Yeah.
But yes, I cannot see any particular reason why the Aussie would rally until we've got a government returned.
Yeah.
Which is unlikely, and that's why the market's not going there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the reasons the market's not going there. I mean, not only were the unemployment figures today not good, they were also revised upward, which is bad. That is the unemployment rate from last month.
Yeah.
So that they stuffed up last month as well.
Right.
Which kind of is a double whammy, you know. It's bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, to trade Aussie Kiwi is the only possible way I would trade the Aussie. No other way.
Yeah.
Long anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose we should look at this euro dollar trade that I'm in. Thanks to my good friend Donald.
Yeah. Just check it out. You're not able to show your screen, so I'll bring it up.
No, sorry guys, I just cannot. It crashes me out every time for whatever reason.
Is it a 30?
4 hour, mate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to this. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there was a trend line coming up from the low on the 3rd of May. I think it's the 3rd of May. Yep.
Yeah.
Through the low on the 9th of May.
Yeah.
And it created a close just above that line with the, on your charts, probably the, is it the 6 o'clock candle or the 10 o'clock candle for you on the 15th?
On the 15th?
Yeah.
On the 15th, on the 4 hour, yeah. It's the 8 till 12 candle.
It's the 8 o'clock, same as mine. Okay, cool. So that bar barely, but it did close above the trend line or trade line, call it what you want. The ideal position here, and I said at the time, would have been had it closed above the 2 pivot or 3 pivots at that stage as well. And then we got the retest or reply, if you like, from the sellers, which was good and substantial. And that gets me a very nice clearance area. So I put my entry about 4 pips above the monthly pivot, I think, something like that. And with the idea that the market would organically trade up to that area and then either bounce back off it or break through it. But no, Donald comes out and says he's giving, 6 months grace to European car makers or something. Was that right? Is that what he did?
Yeah.
And of course, the market rallied instantly on the tweet and took me into the trade. Not only to take me into the trade, I think it gave me about 4 pips worse than where my entry was. So I got shafted both ways. But anyway, we are now organically trying to get back to that level, which is what I had in mind in the first place. The stop is at around about 111. Where are we? 111.69. That's where I've got my stop. So I've got plenty of breathing space, but we've now got a hell of a lot of resistance ahead of us, and that's a bit spooky. We've got another resistance trend line. We've got the weekly pivot. We've got the monthly pivot. The only thing in our favor is that we're now above the daily pivot. So, yeah, it's a trade I've got trapped in, I suppose, that I really have no reason to close until we get back to these pivots. And if we reject the pivots again, then I think I'll just close around about that time. That is the only one I'm in currently. We've spoken about the Aussie Kiwi one from yesterday that we close at entry. Don't got too much more. I don't think that I'm.
So this one was a long, right? So you were looking for the long.
Yep.
And but your entry was just above that bar, which was where those pivots were.
It was just about 4 pips above the monthly pivot.
Above the monthly pivot, and it went up. Didn't quite get TP1.
No.
But it's come back. So we're just looking for it to come back up to this area.
Yeah, and it's now got a hell of a job on its hands to get back.
Yeah, inverted head and shoulders though, mate. I mean, that may help things.
Oh, it's there. I mean, the whole thing was there to take. But as I said at the time, there was also a sound, and this is often the case, there was a sound case for the bears as well, if you look at the daily chart. and we said this yesterday as well. The daily chart was giving me.
Yep.
Hang on, I've gone away from the euro. I was wondering why it looked weird. The daily chart's giving me a reversal bar on those pivots. And that's why I didn't trade that, because I had to get through the pivots and didn't. So the third last, when was it? Monday's bar. Monday's bar is a clear reversal bar and a lower high in a falling market. So, you know, you can absolutely see why you would want to trade that short as well. But that trend line that starts on the high of 20th of the 3rd, it's actually the high of March, goes through the high of April, through there, we're still above that. So we haven't broken back below it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, and I totally see you know, the ascending nature of the last 3 weeks where we're now getting higher highs, well, equal high, I suppose, but certainly higher lows. So the higher lows are what probably are driving me at the moment. And whilst we're above that trend line, I think we've got a chance. But gee, it's going to be hard yakka getting through those pivots, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Something has to happen to drive that, I think.
Yeah. Unless it settles down for. I mean, would you potentially hold it over the weekend, or would that not be an option?
Oh, look, depends how far in the red I am, I suppose. You know, if it gets to the pivots and fails to break the pivots and comes back off them, I'll close it.
Yeah.
But if it gets through the pivots, then okay.
I'm just wondering if there's
what I would do if that were the case, if we got to close above the pivots today, and by, let's say, your close tomorrow, I would move my stops up to below the pivots, just below the pivots, and hold for the weekend.
Yeah.
And hope it doesn't get me way down.
Yeah, it just might mess about in this area for a day or two, mightn't it?
Look, it's in a busy area. There's a lot of noise there. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of resistance. So yeah, absolutely, it could just fiddle there and do absolutely nothing.
Do you know? I remember talking about this. You know, maybe the start of the week when we said that it's going to be a tricky one because we had broken the trend line, but then we had this bar. So there just wasn't enough clarity to kind of get any kind of sense of direction. But I have to say, mate, if I was looking at this, then I would be looking at a long here. The pivots are problematic. There's no doubt about it. But the fact that we've come back here, we've retraced into a previous horizontal level on the daily chart, which I quite like. We've retraced right back to the trend line, the lower end of the trend line, which I quite like. We have had a day of indecisions just to show that it managed to hold. I quite like that. So I'd be, this is a buy area for me. When I also think about the inverted head and shoulders down here as well, which is kind of, you know, no different to this spinning top. So when you see a spinning top like that, it will be a head and shoulders pattern on a shorter term time frame. And that's what we have. So I think it's okay, mate. I think, you know, it might be one of those that is frustrating because of what Donald Trump has said, but actually, technically speaking, it still looks all right down here to me.
Look, it's not a silly trade by any stretch. But it's going to be frustrating. It really is going to just drive me into insanity. And because we are at the end of the week, if we're not into profit, then it's just going to be really hard to hang on to this.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. I just want to quickly check the the dollar yen very quickly. It looks like a pretty sticky market today. To my mind, I don't think there are too many drivers out there which are really obvious, and it could be a bit of a kind of rangy old day. May not. I was wrong yesterday, and I may well be wrong today. But either way, I can't lose if I've got nothing in the market, so I'm not too worried about speculating. This was interesting to me yesterday because of the inverted head and shoulders, which has started to get pretty scruffy over here. And now it's under the daily pivot. That is almost suggesting that the dollar yen could start to weaken here. But dollar's a little bit different to the market, a little bit, because the US, continues to shake feathers everywhere. It's
it's weird, and I think dollar yen is a clear indicator of pretty much what's going on in the currency world normally. It's risk on, risk off type stuff,
yeah,
and it seems to be falling, yes, but we seem to be oscillating between risk on, risk off, day in, day out.
yeah.
It's very hard to read, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I mean, to the mind of that, I am pretty tempted to get a foot. Oh gosh, gone already. Actually, pretty tempted to get a footy trade on short, with that in mind, because I'll be okay actually to put something on and just leave it. I don't mind that. Well, I'm a bit late now.
It's starting to say it doesn't want to be up there, doesn't it? Isn't it?
Really is. It really is. I suppose, if in the next half an hour it's still managing to do a bar like this, I suppose you could trade that. But I would have been quite happy just to kick a trigger in if that was up there. I'm about 10 pips too late, which bothers me.
Kind of what I would have been expecting yesterday is what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay, well, the low here is 82, and the high so far is 76. It's pretty close enough, actually. Probably close enough. I think 72.80 is an area to trade this from. So if you're looking on the cash amount, then you are looking at this chart here, which would suggest 73.16, which is way off. That's weird. Yeah, the two charts are giving you different numbers. When you look over here, it's 72.68, and the area you'd have to get to is 73.20. So you're looking at around about 50 pips. And when we look visually, how far this one is, this one's at 72.55, and this area here is 72.85. So only 30 pips. That's a bit weird. That's a bit weird. Okay. Still, I think is enough evidence for me to suggest that I'm happy to go in short here. So I might just see if I can get that throughout this day, and I'll just hold on to it and see what happens.
All right, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
No, not likely, mate. It may happen today, but I would have thought maybe later in the story. Yeah. But I think just for everybody, my intention right now is to set an order in at what would be 25 pips above our current price. So we'd be looking at 72.95 ish. So 72.95 on the UK 100. On the futures, that's going to be 72.80 ish. So yeah, short around about 20 pips above where we are now, mate, and then we'll see if it develops over the course of the next few days and the next week.
Okay. I'd say I'll go around the grounds, except I can't take the screen.
Yeah, no worries.
Which is kind of weird. I'm just going around the grounds in my own little head right now. So if I find anything, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
The couple of interesting ones that I'm looking at. Aussie has just had a little bit of a retracement. I don't have a trade line there, unfortunately. Otherwise, there's probably a short there. But you're jumping in very late in the movement there, so probably no is the answer. The euro, yeah, nothing there to get excited about on a 30-minute chart either, I wouldn't have thought. No. Euro Aussie needs to come back. Euro CAD. Euro CAD's in no man's land for me. Kiwi itself. Let me have a look at that. Whoa. Yeah, I can't find a slingshot trade there, but I can see people who's salivating over the last 30-minute bar. I'm going to have a look at the last hourly bar. Yeah, I don't know why or how the Kiwi can rally, but there's a potential in the current bar. If the current bar were to close, let me see, around about 65.50 or below, down to 65.45 maybe, then there's a long on offer. And for the same, oh, how can you trade the Kiwi long? But it's sitting there, so there's potential for that to happen.
Yeah.
Cable, not interested. Gee, it looks like it's going into that level you said before, mate, by the look of it. Pound yen tumbling, Aussie yen not as bad, really, and is at support. Maybe looking to put in an inverted head and shoulders there, but again, how can you trust the Aussie at the moment? Kiwi yen's hanging on there as well.
Oof.
Maybe it's a commodities day today.
My goodness, the pound is really in a lot of trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going. Absolutely. No, mate, I haven't got a trade. I'll go back to what I said before on Aussie Kiwi. On the hourly chart, there is a setup there long that I'm not going to take. And what was the other one?
We'll break out to the upside as well on the euro pound.
Yeah, euro pound just keeps going, doesn't it now?
Yeah.
Don't think I'm going to get my short for a while, but that's okay.
Lots of
always a better price to be had.
Lots of concern. I think in the UK is generating that. We're seeing gold start to ease also to the upside. So looks like risk off is certainly making its play again today.
Yeah, for now. We'll see what happens. Mate, I'm done. I don't need to hang around too much more. I don't know about you.
No, that's all good, mate. That's all good. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up. As I say, this is just one of those things. I've been looking at gold getting into here, and Jeff's making the very poignant point that $12.99 might be it done for the day because people can't really make it a great decision. I'm still going to go short FTSE if it pops up because I think there's going to be a little bit of messing about, but I think that price should be fairly good. So that's why I'm not going to go in here because I have no trust with the continuation today. But if I get a high enough price, then I'm quite happy to hold on to it for a week or so. So
happy days, mate.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. And Monday is, let me just double check that I'm giving you the right information. Oh no, it's not this Monday. So not this Monday, but the following Monday is a bank holiday. So actually, there won't be a show then because there's no UK market. But next Monday we will be back at the same trade time and same trade channel. Have a good weekend, guys, and have a good weekend to you, buddy.
You too, mate. All the best, everyone. Stay safe, and we look forward to having your company next week. Bye-bye for now.